Good morning. It is Monday, October 15th. I believe this is the last day that you can go into Baxter Park. I think they close it after today. Unless there's snow there, then they closed it earlier. But I think today is it. Welcome to the Man Cave. This whole room used to be the Man Cave, but about 5 years ago, while I was working out of state down in Kentucky for about 7 months, my wife and my youngest daughter took over part of this room and changed it into a sewing room, a quilting room. This is where Mrs. Box Turtle makes her quilts. So this is all I have left right now. I'll show you around. This rock is very similar to one you might find up on Mount Katahdin. I'm going to paint a white blaze on it and put it with my other shrine parts. Here's my fishing pole, which I will use this spring in the Maumee River to legally catch some walleyes. There's a rock which I caught on that date in the Maumee River. It felt just like a fish. I even netted it, and I decided to keep it. I told everybody I caught a rock bass. That's self-explanatory, as this is too. Here's my shrine. Got some well-wishing cards and congratulation cards. I need to put my wooden spoon up there from the half-gallon challenge, and I have not put away a lot of my things yet. What I have been doing is cutting firewood, and I will soon be raking leaves out there. They're still green here in Ohio, but when they change and fall, I'll have to rake them up so they don't all end up in my pond and plug that up. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm working on firewood right now. Recently, my father took me out to two places to celebrate. One of them was his favorite place, the Oregon Inn. And he took my sisters and their husbands and my wife and I, and we celebrated there my accomplishment. Very humbling event. Also, after that, my father took us to Mancy's in Toledo, Ohio, steak restaurant. Took my two of my kids and their spouses and the 4 grandkids and my wife and I, and had a good meal there also. So we've been doing a lot of celebrating. I'm up to 160 pounds again. I started at 180 and I went down below 150 or lower, and I'm putting it on quickly because I'm not working as hard as I did a few months ago. Anyhow, I have this letter I want to talk about. Okay, my name is Louie, but let me slip back into my character. Now I'm Box Turtle. Okay, what I was talking about was this letter that I received whenever my dad took us out to the Oregon Inn. My dad goes there every Thursday and has supper there, and he talked about what I was doing, and some of the people there were interested, and one in particular, this woman named Cindy. While we were eating that night, a waitress came up and handed me this letter, and inside the letter, with the letter, was a donation, which I will add to what Michael and Tammy Tarver has given me, and I will pass that on to somebody maybe next year. I'll pass it forward and help somebody else out. Certainly appreciate it. You could probably read the questions, but she has a list of 16 questions. Some of these people were interested in what I was doing, and she watched all my videos. So and then she came up with a lot of good questions. So I'm going to go through them. There's 16 of them. The first one is, how did you come up with the trail name of Box Turtle? Well, I like box turtles, and while training out at Oak Openings, where there are some box turtles, I guess family members notice that I look like a box turtle, and I have my home on my back. I crawl. I don't go very fast. You know, and when I'm on a flat ground and I'm in good shape, I can probably go 3 miles an hour, but I can't do that on the trail. The best I could do is probably 2 miles an hour, and sometimes less than that when conditions are bad or I wasn't feeling well. But box turtle, the male ones have red eyes, the females have brown eyes, and I tell everybody I have red eyes, so I like the name Box Turtle. Other thru hikers seem to like it too. Gave them a smile when I told them what it was. So. Which state was your favorite and why? That's a tough one. I think what I'm going to do is this winter, or whenever it gets cold out again, and you know, the past couple of years, I would usually take a hot bath at the end of the day because I like to soak in the heat. And after being outside in the cold all day, I would watch other people's videos to inspire me and learn from. So I think this year I'm gonna watch my videos, and maybe at that point I can decide which state was my favorite. There's some good ones out there. There's some tough ones. There's some probably some least favorite ones too, so I'll be able to narrow them down. Number 3, what was the biggest takeaway that you learned about yourself? The fact that I'm getting older and weaker. Hopefully it becomes a gradual thing, and so I can just taper off and have a long run, but you never know. So yeah, that's the reason I had to go with the lighter gear, and it slowed me down, and I healed slower, and like my dad says, it's no fun getting old, but I'm still strong enough to accomplish the trail at age 62. Did the thru hike. I didn't slack pack, and another tidbit, I never went to Walmart. I shop locally, which is kind of hard to do because everybody talks about going to Walmart all the time, buying their things, and I just bought locally, so it can be done. Number 4, which trail magic did you appreciate the most? Wow, there are so many. All the rides, all the encouragement, all the drinks, the food. I think some of the ones that really stick out in my mind. Well, the first one was a month into it. I kept hearing all these people getting all these great breakfasts and lunches and snacks, and I think I got a can of pop one time. But then on October 5th, Cinco de Mayo Day, I came out on this road, and there was I think his name was Enrico Suave, and his wife, Lookout, and they sat me down, told me just to relax. They would do everything. They made me some tacos, and they had beer and pop, and I had a double cheeseburger, and it was living high. That was probably my biggest first one. And some of the other ones that stood out, like later in the trip, it was I remember it was a Wednesday, and it was cold and rainy, and there was an older couple behind me I just passed, and I came down onto this parking lot, and this woman asked me, "Would you like a sandwich?" Yes, I said, yes, I would. She made me a ham sandwich. She made me 2 ham sandwiches, 2 cups of hot chocolate. I ate a bunch of bags of chips. I took some with me. I think I had some vegetables. Her name was Mrs. Moose. I remember that one. The end of the, halfway through the 100-mile wilderness, I ran into Patriot. And after walking all night long, I sat down at 9 o'clock. I sat there for 3 hours and I ate his food. That was excellent too. Plus the obvious ones. The last day I was there, I went to pay my bill, and Tammy and Michael Tarver had covered it for my hostel stay there in Millinocket. And also, I guess this leads into the next question. Out of all the folks you met on the trail, which one or several made the biggest impact on your life and why? Well, there was more than one. You know, I didn't walk with too many people. I would walk with them, but I didn't stay with them. Maybe I'd see them at the end of the day, or I'd see them for a couple days, and then things would move on because we didn't walk the same pace, or they would go into town and I wouldn't, or vice versa. But I would sometimes run into them again. And the only time I hiked with someone was in the Whites. Mr. Zip asked me if I would walk together with them. He figured it was safer going through the Whites with somebody, and I enjoyed that. You know, I didn't have to do all the thinking. There were two heads involved now, so all the planning and where we're gonna stop, where we're gonna eat, where we're gonna get our food, all this stuff. So that was nice. That took some pressure off because you know, I was worried about getting through those. Everybody talked about how tough it was to get through the mud in Vermont, the rocks in Pennsylvania, the Whites, and then the lower Maine, how tough that was, all the routes. And so you know, sometimes I would come out of them and then, wow, it's over, I did it. So and whenever I would talk to people coming the other way, they would say, oh, it's beautiful, it's difficult, but it's beautiful. And I would say, don't tell me what it looks like. I want, how tough is it, you know, can I make it? And they said, yeah, you've come this far, you can make it. And I think they always had more confidence in me than I did myself. But of all the folks you met on the trail, which one or several made the biggest impact on your life and why? Well, I can never forget Real Nice. She saved me at the end. I was in trouble. She stayed with me. So I think if you look at my videos, you can see, you know how I feel about her. So that was a big one. My wife sent her some Cheryl cookies this past week. I don't know if she got them there. She lives in D.C. and hopefully they made them to her. Do you plan to keep in touch with those individuals in the future? Mike Tarver talked about us hiking together someday, and even talked about going to a Penn State game together. But these past 2 years, my team has beat his team by 1 point, real close game. So maybe he doesn't want to talk to me right now, but he sure did me a big favor, he and his wife, for that trail magic they provided. So I think I'm going to, I put myself in the yearbook, and so maybe I will contact some of these people. My wife talked about going to the trail days next year, so maybe I'll run into some people. We'll see. Number 7, why didn't you take more 0 days? That's probably the best question on here. You know, I could have taken a day off every week and still finished when I did, because I missed, when you add it all up, I missed 4 weeks due to injuries. And if I had just taken a day off once in a while and rested up mentally and physically, uh, I probably would have enjoyed it more. I don't know, they talked about savoring the last 100 miles, and I didn't savor it a lot. I pretty much, it just got worse as it went on, and I made it through there, and but I did savor those last 2 days. I thought, well, it might be anticlimactic, but no, it was wonderful. Did you have a goal of X amount of days to complete the trail? Uh, no, but that was always on my mind. I always thought I should push it in the middle when it was smoother, like in Virginia. They said it was easier, and your miles were gonna get cut in half, and once you got into the whites, and I was worried about all that. So yeah, I pushed it, and my theme was usually at the end of the day. Some people would stop like supper time, and but the sun didn't go down for a while, so I would go for a couple more hours, or I kept saying one more mountain. So I'd listen to my music, get me over one more mountain, and I'd go to sleep right away because I was tired. And then the birds would wake you up in the morning, and you'd do it again. But about maybe a couple months left, I started trying to figure out when I might be able to finish. Early on, I walked with a guy from Michigan up in Ann Arbor, and that's where he's from. And he started the same day I did, only years earlier, on April 4th, but he finished October 2nd. So I kept thinking that'd be decent, because I wanted to get out of there before it snowed. I didn't want to have to face the snow again like I did in the beginning. And but then I started every day after I got done walking, I'd add the miles up and I'd average out what I was doing, and I'd try to forward that ahead, try to figure out where I would land. And it kept coming up with September 10th, sometimes the 12th, but September 10th, and that seemed wonderful. And that probably would have been the day had I not gotten that infection in my back. But it all worked out. I had a great day up there, a beautiful day. And okay. Number 9, how did you train for this adventure? Nah, I didn't train as much as I wanted to. I had my gear, and I would walk, and it turns out I walked on average once a month out at Oak Openings. There's a Boy Scout trail out there. It's flat, and it's 15.5 miles. I would load up all my stuff. I'd walk 10 miles. I'd heat my food up. I'd put it in my koozie, and I'd walk another 4, and I'd sit down at this park bench along this bike trail, and I'd eat my food, and then walk the next mile and a half back to the parking lot. And that was my training. I did some running. It was only like 4 miles 3 times a week, and I wanted to ride the bike more to build up my quads, but I think I only rode my truck bike one time on the trail, and my indoor bike here, stationary bike, I only did that once also. So I didn't get to train that much. Besides working, I spent so much time getting things done around the house. I didn't want to have leave a burden for my family. Anything I could think of, I would get done, and it paid off, because they didn't have too much trouble here, fortunately. I didn't want to have to come home and fix something or work on something. But yeah, if I had trained better, I probably would have done better. Okay, number 10. Why did you choose the equipment that you used on the trail? Well, I liked it because it was light. As I said, I'm getting older and weaker, and I went with a lot of Z-Packs. I had the Duplex 10. I had a lightweight Mummy sleeping bag. I had the Ark Hall backpack. I wore long pants. There's not too many people who wear long pants. Most people wore shorts. Some people wore skirts. Some people wore kilts. And there was a lot of stinging nettles there, which I didn't, sometimes I'd get it on my hand. And I did not get any poison ivy that whole trip. Of course, now that I'm home cutting firewood, I have a little bit of it. Go figure. I think if I had to do over again, I might have researched which shoes had better traction. Because I would watch some people, young people, well, they're just stronger and they could rock hop, and I was always so careful, foot placement. I didn't want to get hurt and get taken off the trail. But I noticed when I was hiking with Mr. Zip, he had what are the running shoes? Trail runners, and I kept thinking he has better traction than I do. So I think I might have researched that better. I like my Merrells, but I might if I had researched it more, I might have gone with some trail runners. So because I slipped a lot. I fell down 18 times, and I was real careful. Okay. Number 11, you mentioned a guy named Bigfoot, and he had shared a lot of tips for hiking the trail. With everything on the internet, why did you choose his recommendations? His advice was real practical. Like I set up my tent like he did. Do the two opposite, then you put your tent trekking pole up to one side, you go to the other side, and it was like a perfect setup every time. He just had practical information. One of my biggest concern was after I got done, how do I get home? And I talked to everybody, said, no, don't worry about it. It's a piece of cake. And yeah, but I want to know now. I wanted all these things figured out before I left. And he had a video on that. He seemed to cover everything. He seemed to think a lot of things out clearly, and I like logic. And there were other people that I followed, but I was impressed by what he had to say. So, okay. Number 12, how did you keep your phone charged for so long while on the trail? This right here. This is my Anker. And I think it might be an older model. It weighs 15 ounces. It takes, seems like all night long to charge. So when I'd go to hospital, I'd plug that in, and it has 4 lights on it. And I never ran out. I almost did towards the end there, because I hadn't put any videos up for a while, and then I had a few bars, so I put a couple up to let people know I'm still around, but it drained my phone and that, and so when I went through the 100-mile wilderness to play it safe, that was fully charged, but I didn't listen to music, which would have helped me, and I didn't listen to iPods or podcasts, or because I thought, well, it's gonna backfire on me. I'm gonna finally see that moose and not be able to take a picture, or I'm gonna go up to see some beautiful sight, maybe Mount Katahdin, and not have my phone working or something. So I played it safe and just I canceled all those things just to keep the power. Okay. Number 13, I observed many times while recording, you became overwhelmed with raw emotions. Was this because of the experience that you were going through? And if so, has this changed how you are now? Well, I was probably homesick a little bit, and even though I'm a loner, and I don't have any problem being by myself for long periods of time, I'd probably reminisce about some sad things, or I'd have couple sad songs in a row, or I was going up something difficult, and all these things would compound, and it would just hit me. So And of course, I thought about editing all that out, but I decided, nah, I'll leave it on. People have to realize what it's like. It's not, with a section hike, you can go home anytime you want, which is quite the advantage. And I would recommend that for most people. But if you want to do a through hike, you're pretty much stuck there. It's like you signed up for something, and you got to see it through. You can't go AWOL. Yeah, I was sad at times. Sometimes I was elated. Sometimes I was angry. It's just a good thing I'm by myself sometimes in the woods, so people didn't hear my eye or I didn't want them to see me real sad. And I even sang sometimes. Okay. Number 14. Do you think you will ever hike the trail again with family members or friends? I don't think I'll do the whole thing. Who knows? Maybe one of my descendants will decide to go. Maybe I'll meet him there and provide some trail magic, or walk with them for some inspiration and reminisce. But right now, probably not. I have other things on my bucket list. I retired, and this was the first thing on there, and this was huge. This was tough to do. This was not easy for me, and you'd have to be in really good shape to say this was easy. It wasn't easy for me. I certainly enjoyed it. It was satisfying. Number 15. Do you have a newfound desire to hike other trails in the future since this experience? I remember we were in the Smoky Mountains, and it's difficult there too. And the weather was terrible, and people just looked miserable. And I looked at their faces, and I had to get away from them, because they had that look on their face like, I want to go home. I just want to go home. But I keep saying this. I thought many times that I didn't want to quit, but I sure wished it was over. But they asked me back in the Smokies, so when you finish this one, you think you do the PCT next? And I'd say, no. I said, this is the one I signed. This is the granddaddy of them all. This is the tough one. This is the one I wanted to do. I want to go home and be a grandfather, I kept telling them. And probably no more long hikes. Although, every once in a while, I have this melancholy feeling. I just want to put my pack on. I want to head out, I don't know if it's pride, but it gave me a good feeling, like I was accomplishing something, and I set out on the new day every morning. And took a lot of pride in having that red tag on there. I guess it's a vanity thing, because whenever I'd come down into a town or a city, or people would meet me on a trail who had questions about I really felt proud. I felt like I was, I guess it's a vanity thing, but I really felt happy about that. Number 16, the final question. What was the biggest takeaway for you after the 6-month adventure? Has to be the people I met, especially the trail angels. How giving they were. They encouraged you. They asked questions. They made you feel important. Some of them acting like you were a demigod or something. They like to bow to you. can't believe how these people, they gave me rides. I'd hold up my sign and a car would pull over, and it was such a relief. Those times when, especially when I was running low on food or water, there'd be water there during the dry spells, or they'd come out and people would offer you food, ask you if you needed a ride somewhere. That was probably the best parts, the people that helped you out along the way. I'm hoping to give some of that back. My wife and I want to go to, it was her idea, to go to the trail days next year. I didn't go this year. I was a week ahead of the event, and I decided to keep on going. And I'd been to Indianapolis 509 years in a row, so I kind of knew what being around a bunch of crowded people who were drinking beer and dancing around bonfires was like. So I thought maybe we'll go back this year. Anyhow, I hope that answers Cindy's questions, and they want me to meet with them in a couple weeks. I'm probably going to go back to the Oregon Inn or the Senior Center. I don't know which place, and they said they have 100 questions for me, so I'm going to go there and gladly answer them. Appreciate your support. So I think my next adventure, maybe next spring, might be, I'm looking into canoeing the Maumee River. Well, we'll see. It's big talk right now. Won't take as long as the Appalachian Trail, but it won't be easy either, so. All right, Box Turtle out. Well, looky here, I finally spotted a moose. Thanks, Lynn. Oh, sure, now I figure out how to make these videos longer than 15 minutes.